your contention? What is your submission?
My submission, my Lord, is finally this, that when all these documents and orders are studied, the abrogation of the State Assembly, the abrogation of all its institutions, abrogation Article 370 is unconstitutional, unnecessary. It's just a political gimmick. That is, my Lord, the pith and substance of my argument. Then, my Lord, Clause 7 of the Instrument of Accession will show that in the beginning, our accession was on one extreme, and now it has gone from the one extreme to another extreme. In the beginning, my Lord, according to the white paper on Jammu and Kashmir, published by the government of India early 1956, recorded, in accepting the accession, the government of India made it clear that they would regard it as purely provisional until such time as the will of the people of the state could be ascertained. Lord, then I might, Lord, go to the next page, the second para. The state had acceded to India 1947 in respect of only of defense, foreign affairs, and communications. Negotiations were held on 15th and 16th of May 49 at the Deputy Prime Minister Vallabhbhai Patel's residence in New Delhi on Kashmir's future setup. Nehru and Abdullah were present. Foremost among the topics were the framing of constitution for the state and the subjects in respect of which the state should accede to the Union of India. On the first, Nehru recorded in a letter to Abdullah on 18th May that both Patel and he agreed that it was
possible to formulate, because you formulated it in your submissions instead of really reading us through Mr. Nurani's book. We'll certainly look at Mr. Nurani, the book, and all the other material which has been given to us. If you could just formulate now your points really, because a lot of this ground has been covered by the council preceding you.
Yes, sir.
Almost everything has been covered.
It is submissions, but anyway, I think since my Lord want to go to the bottom of it, but in a very short, my Lord. पेज है इनके पास
In fact, we made a request.
No paper, please. Yes.
My Lord, before I go to this, my Lord, the written submissions, I have also written submissions. In this issue arose for the first time in Supreme Court of India in 1982. In a presidential reference, my Lord. There was a dispute in the Legislative Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir, which was also its constituent assembly. A dispute arose whether Article 370 should be changed or modified. That was the issue. My Lord, this it went to the Supreme Court. At that time, my Lord, I was vice chairman of a political party, and I submitted, my Lord, written note. It is here, my lord, I'll pass it on. In this, my lord, if your lordship see that after your lordships heard us, the simple order was, we don't think it necessary to intervene in this matter. And that's how it stood. That's why nobody was bothered about it. After about every month and every 2 months, one entry or the other was, my lord, brought through Article 370 into Jammu and Kashmir. And when Sheikh Abdullah objected to it, my lord, he was sent to prison for 19 years. And his deputy, Bakshi Ghulam Ahmad, was taken into confidence. When he stopped playing the game, he was removed. And Bakshi Ghulam Ahmad Sadiq was made the chief minister, without majority. No, my lord, this is a tragic story. And finally, it has landed here in this August House for a final say. If this article, as some people have said, my lord, that this article is useless, but there is something more than bread and butter for human beings, whether they are people from Jammu and Kashmir, Jammu or Kashmir or Ladakh. They have, my lord, they were born with the idea that somehow we will be protected, we have special rights under 370. Article 3 was amended by the impugned legislation, and totally contrary to the provisions of Article 370, Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir was broken into 3 parts. Governor was replaced by Lieutenant Governor, who is a gentleman of the highest order. There's no doubt about that. But how can 370 be abrogated? What was the mechanism? First, ask the governor to dissolve the Legislative Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir. For what reason? Nobody knows. He just passed the order at around 12 o'clock at night. The certain orders were then issued by him. After some time, he was transferred without any reason and sent to a God-forsaken place. And what he said thereafter, I didn't bring it on record. This is step 2. What is step 3? You pass an order by virtue of which the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir is abrogated. And you pass that order under Article 370. After that, what's the next step? You abrogate Article 370. Now, I'll pass on the documents to my lord, if your lordship are pleased to, all the documents which are, my lord, necessary. If I really go into details, my lord, I will take more time than my class fellow, Mr. Kapil Sipal, had taken. But since your lordship have set a deadline, I must accept the humility and say that thank you very much. First of all, my lord, if your lordship have volume 20 books -F, I'll be reading from that. I think your lordship have that. Volume 20 books -F.
What PDF page will that be?
It says, my lord, article.
Yes, you got that. It's at page 1, volume 20. That's Mr. Nurani's book.
Yes. Article 370 of the Constitution of India relating to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu is missing, is now, that time it was 60 years old, now it is much longer. The Constitution came into force on 26th of January 1950, which our children celebrate every year, this 26th of and 15th of August. 26th of January 1950, and with it, this unique provision All other provisions were debated in the Constituent Assembly of India after deliberations in its drafting committee and sometimes discussions in the Congress Parliamentary Party. Article 370 was discussed for 5 months by the Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, and his colleagues with the Prime Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah, and his colleagues from May to October 1949, and then the references there. The state of Jammu and Kashmir is the only state in the Union of India which, my lord, negotiated the terms of its membership with the Union. The reason for that was Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru's Security Council resolution which said that status quo should be maintained till they decide which party is right. The Constituent Assembly merely put the imprimatur of its approval on 17th October 1949 to a draft agreed between the Union and the state. Article 370 records a solemn compact. Neither side can amend or abrogate it unilaterally except in accordance with the terms of that provision. The Union Home Minister, Your Lordship may forget that, and move on to the next one on page 2. A little over a decade after, it is the second paragraph, a little over a decade after the enactment of Article 370, its co-architect, Prime Minister Nehru, declared in the Lok Sabha on 27th of November 1963 that Article 370, within quotes, has been eroded, if I may use the word, and many things have been done in the last few years which have made the relationship of Kashmir with the Union of India very close. There is no doubt that Kashmir is fully integrated. And that integration was not only constitutional, it was also emotional. It was also based on certain principles. Kashmiris rejected the idea of Pakistan. Some fresh steps are being taken, and in the next month or two, they will be completed. We should allow it to go on. What had happened in the next couple of months, Sheikh Abdullah was arrested. We do not want to take the initiative in this matter and completely put an end to Article 370. That was in his mind that in some form or the other, it should stay there, maybe for emotional reasons. There was no need for that, as the Union Home Minister Guzari Lal Nanda explained in the Lok Sabha on 4th of December 1964. The only way of taking the Constitution of India into Jammu and Kashmir is through the application of Article 370. It is a tunnel. It is through this tunnel that a good deal of traffic has been passed. It is a one-way tunnel, and we are not unhappy with that. He pointed out that while the normal process of constitutional amendment is subject to stringent conditions, the process of amendment made available under Article 370 is very simple. It's a pragmatic approach. Why to have a constitutional amendment from time to time? If you can pass an executive order through 70, why not resort to this? Sorry, sir. In regard to the rest of India, if a state's power are to be curbed and correspondingly those of the Union and law, the elaborate procedure laid down in Article 368 will have to be followed. In regard to the state of Jammu and Kashmir, Nanda argued a mere executive order made by the president under Article 370 would suffice. His successors in office accepted this interpretation of Article 370. Except, my lord, as your lordship will see, that is a tunnel. It is turned out all right.
It appears
But
that Mr. Nurani's thesis is substantially in terms of what Mr. Dwivedi argued. Because Mr. Nurani also
Yeah,
says
did
that
not
once
have
the
the benefit.
Constituent Assembly of J&K was dissolved and the Constitution was framed, then Article 370 came to an end. And then everything he says that happened thereafter is unconstitutional.
Yes, my lord, I endorse that, madam. Nanda concluded what happens is that only the shell is there. Article 370, whether you keep it or not, has been completely emptied of its contents. Nothing has been left in it. Now, your lordship may kindly turn to is it page 3 and para 2. The Indian Independence Act empowered the Governor General of India to adopt the Government of India Act 1935 as the interim constitution till the enactment of a constitution by the Constituent Assembly of the state. That act, as adapted, served as a constitution from 15th of August 1947 to 25th of January 1950, my lord. Then, my lord, the last 5 lines of this page, the Governor General had written a letter, stipulated that as soon as law and order have been restored in Kashmir and Hussain cleared of the invader. No, some years back, those invaders came, my lord, as not just invaders, but as militants, but as terrorists. The government of India made it clear that they would regard it as a provisional until such time as the will
Mr.
of the
Beigh, what's
people
the
of